The US Eagles, folks, come away with a 1-point win from Chile. We are now essentially at the halfway point in this two-match fixture. 22 points to 21. This match was crazy. If you haven't seen it, there's torrential rain. There's a waterlogged pitch. Something like you haven't seen since you were at a club rugby game where there's no drainage, or like a game from the 80s or 70s. It was like that. The lights went off. Crazy. The crowd was loud. It wasn't fully sold out, but man, it was piddling down. So credit to all the fans who got out there to support their team and made them, boosted them along with as much support as they could. They're very vocal, getting their phones out to try and light the pitch when the lights went off. They did stop the game. But yeah, man, crazy stuff. We'll go through some of the key events of this one. No real stats to speak of, unfortunately, but yeah, you guys can let me know your thoughts. It was on Flow Rugby in the States. Link down in the description to Flow. They seem to have technical issues as well, because the first half they had two feeds, the with commentary feed and without commentary feed. I couldn't get the with commentary feed to show any of the first half. So the first half I watched the without commentary feed. Second half I watched the with commentary feed, just FYI, in case you want to go back and watch it, because like I said, it was pretty mad. But yeah, the first half starts. US get free kicked at the scrum, but their maul is getting some pay, and the weather was such that this is a game where you probably don't want to be playing with the ball that much, because, as I said, it is torrential rain, like unbelievable, and there's so much water on the pitch. Kicking is the order of the day, mauling is the order of the day. The US maul gets some advantage, and it's actually a winger, despite the conditions, who gets the first try. And it's backs who get most of the tries, believe it or not. Dyer goes over on the right wing on about like 5 or 6 minutes. That was just drawing and passing, eh? That was a pretty much stock standard wingers try from set play. So 7 points to 0 early for the Eagles, and it's looking, if it's going to continue like that, the US maul doing what it's doing and able to convert so easily, that it could be a long night at the office for the Chileans, but it doesn't quite go that way. The Chileans opt for 3 points on 10 minutes. Videla is the kicker. The US kind of guilty of not releasing, but he misses that first one, but it's kind of a close kick, and it's a bit of a message of intent that the Chileans are going to try and keep the scoreboard ticking over when they do get any chances. From the restart, where they've got to do a drop kick, AJ McGinty is almost complaining to Nick Berry, I can't even bounce the ball off the turf because it's that waterlogged. And he's just like, well, what can I do? Try your best. So, yeah, pretty crazy stuff. Chile conceded a penalty on 14 minutes for a late kind of clattering into Marcel Braki. And it was a bit of a sitter that the US could have kicked, but AJ McGinty missed that one. Tough conditions, like I said, but he missed a couple of ones that he would like to have back. Chile ended up getting their first points of the game a couple of minutes later from turnover ball. They had advantage. They went for a cross kick, but ended up going back for the advantage. So on the board, 3 points to 7, and then AJ McGinty kicks the ball dead. So again, not kind of his finest hour despite the conditions. And then another Chilean penalty a few minutes later. This time it was AJ McGinty again. He's the man who's offside. So it's a 1-point ball game. It's 7 points to 6. Yeah, it's properly game on. 24 minutes, I think, to Haas. He kicks the ball dead. So, I guess they're expecting the ball to sit up because it's that wet that sometimes it hits a puddle and just stops dead in its tracks. But a few of them were just on the harder areas of the turf. The ball just kept going. So De Haas's one was one of those. There's a lot of knock-ons. It's a lot of kicks. It's wet weather. You don't want to be playing ball in hand, as I mentioned. The US scrum gets a penalty just before the half an hour, but AJ misses that one as well. So there's 6 points gone a begging for the States and 3 for Chile. They did have to check whether there's a try for Dyer, a second one on 31 minutes with a little dink through. He had a chance to get his hand on it in the end goal, but he just missed it. So it ends up being a dropout for the Chilean boys. So I think that was Larenas, the midfielder, who was kind of charging back to make Dyer's life uncomfortable, putting the pressure on him. So, yeah, it goes into the halftime sheds. 7 points to 6. They did put up on the screen that the penalty count was 6 points to 4. So Chile conceding 2 more. And I feel like this game was, given the conditions, it was one of those games when one side had momentum. It was largely on the back of winning a few penalties because you could just get the field position because you're not really in any position to run it. The kicking game is tough, as I said, tough conditions. Second half, it's Chile's turn to kick one out on the full. And there's a little bit of the skills kind of letting them down. It's hard to be too critical with the conditions, like I mentioned. Braki almost sets up Dyer with one. The final pass doesn't quite make it, but on closer inspection, when Nick Berry has to run to a little kind of tent to check out the video screen from the TMO, there's a Chilean hand in there. So Videla, the guy who's been doing the goal kick in the fullback, he gets yellow carded for a deliberate knock-on. So it's a potential try gone big in for the States if that pass goes to hand. But their maul goes over anyway for Taufete'e. He ends up powering over. And they missed the conversion, but it's 12 points to 6. They're starting to look a wee bit more comfortable. And the Chilean maul in reply kind of gets pushed into touch. So the US maul defense did an all right job, because I've heard a lot of talk about the Chilean pack being pretty useful, but I mean in this instance the US I think was getting the upper hand. That being said, no one told me about this guy Fernández, the 10 for Chile. Goodness gracious me, what an individual bit of brilliance. Like, he must be that covered in water and everyone's that wet they just couldn't get a hand on him, because from a kick return he beats half the US team. I don't know how many tackles he beats. I would love to see stats on it. There's missed tackles from multiple US guys. They can't get, well, they get near him, but they just can't get a hand on him. Or if they get a hand on him, they just slip right off him. It's legit. Like, go watch a highlight of it. Unbelievable. If it's anywhere online, he's just like a slippery eel, man, going through the US defenders. So yeah, proper try, but a missed conversion. Remember, the regular goal kick is in the bin by this point, so it's 12 points to 11. So they did score the try during the yellow. So good on Chile. It's 5 points apiece by the time Videla comes back on. 56 minutes, the US are offside and Chile go in front. Videla slots that penalty. So did I say the US go in front? Chile goes in front, 14 points to 12. And frustrating for the US, that all came from a line-out that they didn't throw straight. Again, tough conditions, but they conceded a line-out not straight, then a penalty, then another penalty, and then 3 points. So, you know, that sequence of play all goes back to when the US had the ball themselves and kind of made an unforced error. 61 minutes, though, Chile start to get under the pump from the referee's whistle. They concede a couple of penalties. The US are opting for touch. They're getting close to the line. The lights go out. There's no power. The lights completely shut down. The pitch goes black. They go back to the changing rooms. They have a kind of little intermission as they sort things out. Eventually the lights come back on, so they can resume the game. It's with less than 20 minutes to go. The US, by this point, when they come back, are preferring scrums to lineouts, I guess, because, again, they're not straight. You might as well just set the scrum. It's a wee bit safer. And the US scrum is bossing them. They get advantage, they get a penalty in front, and they slot that one, so 15 points to 14. Chile keep getting pinged. This time it's at the breakdown, again with the scrum. The US go for touch again, and they get another maul try. This time it's Perfiliti. So actually it's 2 tries to forwards and 3 tries to backs. I might have got that wrong earlier. So yeah, Perfiliti goes over. Like I said, the forwards were getting on top, and it's wet weather, man. When the forwards get on top, you're going to get some pay. So yeah, really good work from the US guys. 22-14, looking like taking in a pretty comfortable lead to the second leg. But the Chileans are not done. They go close on 78 with a maul. They get advantage themselves. They tap and go. They get advantage again. And I think it's Fernández that sets up Videla. There's no shirt, no number on his back guy. Change his shirt. With the offload to set up the final score. So, yeah, it's a 1-point ball game. Pretty crazy stuff. Like I mentioned, torrential rain, puddles everywhere. The US jerseys are brown by the end of the game instead of white. Some of the guys changed their jerseys at halftime. You could see who the substitutes were because their jerseys are just bright white compared to everyone else who's just covered. But yeah, ultimately, pretty intense given the conditions. As I said, had a real old school feel about it. And it's cool that it's a 1 point game, man. You go into the second leg. Obviously, the US guys will be the favourites at home. But they don't take much of a leader, man. 1 point is really not much. Both sides certainly left a few points out there with the boot. But in wet conditions, the Fords had a lot of work to do this one. I don't envy them. I guess at least they had a second break when the lights went out. As I said, kudos to the supporters who got out there for that one because it was not ideal conditions to be a fan when you were just getting bucketed on for more than 2 hours. But there you go. You guys let me know your thoughts. Check out some of the highlights if you can, especially the Fernández try. It is proper magic. But yeah, and just see if you can get footage of the lights going out. A bit random. But anyway, you guys take care, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.